Hello friends, I'm Nancy Alexander of Ladybug Wreaths. I'm sitting outside in my pergola today. It is such a gorgeous day. I wanted to sit down and have a talk with you, and I didn't want to do it at my desk. I just wanted to get outside and listen to the birds and feel the sunshine on my face. It's just gorgeous out here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my new book. I'm going to check on my iPad 1 second and make sure I am live, and I think I am. You're going to hear my dog barking. You'll probably hear Steve come driving up in a few minutes, but that's okay. It's so pretty out here. Okay. I hope you're having an awesome day. I see people coming in. Hi Sandra, how are you? I just did a Facebook Live, about 30 minutes ago in my Inner Circle Facebook group. And we were talking about how to be unique in our designs so that people would notice us. Even if a market is saturated, you want to make your wreaths or whatever else it is that you make handmade, you want it to be different, but you want people to know who you are so they'll feel comfortable ordering from you. So we had a good talk, and I've been wanting to talk to you some more about my book, so I thought this was just a good day to do it. If you don't know what an airplane is flying over right now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say my book, I brought it out here with me. My Journey Through Fibromyalgia, Rumors, Ravages, and the Rescue. It was released, oh gosh, about 7 or 8 days ago. I've been blown away at the sales, but mostly I've been blown away at all of the reviews I've gotten from all of the sweet ladies who have read this book already and have sent me, what they're saying, what they've said about my book has made it worthwhile. And every single one of them makes me cry. I started writing this book, gosh, about over 6 years ago. Because you see, I've been suffering from fibromyalgia for a very long time. I got sick when I was 28. And at that time, I went to the best doctor in town. And you know what he told me? You have housewife syndrome. He didn't know what was wrong with me. There's no such thing as housewife syndrome. But what upsets me is that a lot of ladies are still getting that exact same diagnosis today. Fibromyalgia is a disease. It is a legitimate medical disease. It's not in your head. Yeah, doctors told me that too. People are still hearing that today from their doctors. Do you know it was, gosh, it was over 25 years before I got a diagnosis. But then it was only about 8 years ago that I found the right doctors for me in Atlanta. One is a nutritionist, a world-renowned nutritionist that has literally changed my life. And she's in a practice with a doctor I had been with for about a year before I met her. He's an endocrinologist, but he also specializes in fibromyalgia and celiac disease because he has them both. We found out that I have celiac. I've had it since birth. And that was one of the reasons I developed fibromyalgia. And if you read in my book, you'll find out that there were signs and there were symptoms long before I ever got really sick at 28. We could look back and see signs as early as when I was 9, 10, 11, and 12. I knew I was different. I knew I didn't fit in the way everybody else did. I knew I didn't have the energy that everybody else did. But I became really good at hiding it. And that's what a lot of people do these days who have fibromyalgia. It is a misunderstood disease. People have a hard time believing you're really sick when you're in bed one day, practically flat on your back one day, and the next day you're able to go outside, work in your yard, work on crafts, whatever you make, hold down a job. For the longest time, I felt like I was being hit with one virus after another. You know how when you just feel so bad when you're getting sick with a virus and you just have to lay down. And if you raise your head up, you're dizzy and you're sick and you're weak and you just have to lay back down. Well, that's what these attacks felt like. So I tell you in my book what you can do to keep from going through all that I went through for all those years. I suffered. My family suffered. I could not be the mother to my boys that I wanted to be. I made up excuses when it was time for grade mothers to take stuff to school for parties. I never said, I don't feel like it. I never said I was sick. I tried really hard to hide it, and I did a good job. But then people start talking about you because they think, well, why isn't she doing this? Why isn't she here with her family? Why is her husband here with her boys? Where's Nancy tonight? That's the way rumors get started, when they just, you don't know what's going on with you. I didn't know what was going on with me. Doctors didn't know. So how can I explain to someone why I can't do all these things? When our boys got older and wanted to play softball or baseball or soccer, I made sure they were signing up for practices and games that were only held at night, so that we would be able to wait till Steve got home to take us if I got to go, or to take the boys if I had to stay home. No one should have to lead a life like that, especially today with all of the medical advances and with everything that's going on in our medical fields, and with all of the brilliant students that are graduating from all of these medical colleges right now. No one should still be going to a doctor that says, I can't help you. It's in your head. Maybe you need to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or maybe you just need to get up and make yourself go do things. I think you'll get over it. That's not true. So please don't let anyone tell you that. That's one of the reasons I wrote this book. I want you to know how fibromyalgia can be so devastating to your life, but yet you don't receive the concern and care and sympathy from friends and loved ones because they don't understand. They don't know it's a real disease. It affected our marriage. How could Steve understand when I felt good one day and was lying down on the couch or in bed the next day? Not just for weeks, and not just for months, but this went on for years, many years, and it almost destroyed our marriage. I've read a lot of statistics about couples where one of them has fibromyalgia, and it's something like 90 or 95% of the marriages that don't make it. But I'm here to tell you today that we did make it. And yes, it got bad for a while, but then God reached into our lives and He broke us down to nothing, both of us, before He built us back up. We were pruned by God. And then we started to realize we were about to lose the things that were most precious to us in this world. And that's about the time that we found the doctor who literally saved my life. The first time that we saw her, we'd gone to Atlanta. Steve had told me, I have to know what's going on with your body. I have to understand. Well, up until then, I'd only done phone consultations with the one doctor I was already seeing there because I couldn't make it to Atlanta. I could not ride in the car that far. And Steve said, I have to know. I have to go and talk to these doctors, and I will get you there no matter what. If we have to stop every 15 minutes and let you get out and walk around and stretch and do whatever you have to do, I will get you there. So we made it to Atlanta, and I saw this sweet, kind doctor that I had talked to on the phone for phone consultations many times. And he was so kind and so understanding. And he listened to our story, and he spent a lot of time with Steve and I that day. But then as we were fixing to leave, he said, I have a new doctor who's moved in the practice with me. And people fly in from all over the world to see her. And I'm going to go and see if she has a few moments to spare. Her schedule is booked all day, every day. She never has cancellations. He said, but I'm going to go and beg. And in a few minutes, he came back, and he said, she has 10 minutes. And that was, it was about almost noon. He said, go out and sit in the waiting room for a few minutes, and her assistant will call you back. Well, her assistant came out in a few minutes, and she said, I want you to drive down the road about 2 blocks, take a left, take a right, look for this restaurant, and she told us the name. It is gluten-free. They have awesome food. Enjoy your lunch. Come back in an hour. She has had a 2-hour cancellation. Now, we didn't know this at that time. We didn't know this even that day. But we found out from her assistant the next time we saw her that it was so unusual and so rare for her to have a 2-hour cancellation that they went back and looked in her records, in her books. It had been 5 years since there had been a cancellation, a 2-hour cancellation. She had all of my records because I'd been sending them to this other doctor for over 2 years. She had a file sitting on her desk about that thick when Steve and I walked in her office. We were shocked at the doctorates and the degrees hanging all over her walls from all over the world, not just the United States. And she, as she read in my file and looked, she became shocked. She just kept saying, oh my God, over and over and over. And every time she did, Steve would say, what? What? She said, the answers were right here. They were right here in your file in all of these tests all along. But no one knew how to read them to diagnose celiac and fibromyalgia, and that's what you have. But by your records and by what I see in reading them, it's a miracle you're here in my office today, because you should be dead. And she went on to say, if this disease had not killed you, because there was a good chance it could have from what I'm seeing in your blood work, then most likely you would have done it yourself. And Steve said, no, absolutely not. She wouldn't have done that. And he looked at me. I said, no, I wouldn't have, but I thought about it many times, but then I couldn't. So we both shed a lot of tears that day. She took out my bag of supplements that I had figured out what to take myself. There was a supplement that had a lot of magnesium in it that I took 12 a day. I was taking 12 Advil a day. I bet I took 20 bottles of vitamins and supplements with me that I had figured out that I needed to take in order to function. And as she went through the supplements, she would say, this is really good, you've done a good job, but this has something in it you don't need. Or this is really good, your research was right on, but you're taking too large a quantity of that. As she went through my bag of supplements, each one she set over to the side that was not right. Very few did she sit over to the left side that I could continue taking. And she said, I don't want you to worry. I'm sorry, my phone blinked. She said, I don't want you to worry. I'm going to send you home with all of the right supplements that you need to take, and I want you to start them all in the morning. Well, I panicked because by that time I was severely allergic to a lot of supplements, any medicines, drugs, all of the vitamins, all of the supplements that I was taking. I started out with breaking one in half and then break it in fourths, and started out very slow on every one of them to see which one I was going to have a reaction to. So we left there with her saying, don't worry, you have help now, you're going to get well, you're going to be better. Now your muscles are damaged from going undiagnosed all this time. So when I say you're going to get well, you're going to still have pain, you're still going to suffer, but it's not going to be anything like your life has been before now. So when we left, we were happy when we left. We cried because of all the pain, because of all the lost days and months and years without finding a doctor like her. And we cried because we knew there was hope. And the next morning, when I woke up with all those bottles sitting on my counter, saying take 1 at lunchtime, 2 of this one at supper, take 3 of this one in the morning, take 1 of this at nighttime, take a half of this one with this one at breakfast. I just stood there and cried. Steve came up behind me. He said, don't worry, honey, I'm going to help you. And he and I stood there for 2 hours to figure out what supplements I was to take that morning before I even ate breakfast. And I thought, well, maybe these will help me. But it's been my experience that I'm going to feel worse before I feel better. But I want you to know, 2 months later, we drove to Hilton Head with our entire family, all 10 of us, and we spent a week right on the beach in Hilton Head. That was the first time I'd been to the beach, to the ocean, in 10 or 12 years. I'd made it there once or twice before, during the years before, but It was hard to make it there, and once I did, it was even hard to walk in the sand, because to pick up your legs as you walk in the sand, when you have muscle problems, you just can't do anything. That was the best vacation I've ever spent in my life. God began working in our lives in miraculous ways. The fact that she had a cancellation that day was a miracle. The fact that she had moved her practice in with his just a short time before was a miracle. The fact that I made it to Atlanta that day was a miracle. And Steve and I started a miracle book because things were happening every day, every week, every month, that changed our lives and that drew us closer together. So we now have the marriage of our dreams. God worked in our lives. He saved us from an insidious chronic disease that we could not fight our way out of. He saved our marriage. I am married to the man of my dreams, my knight in shining armor. And he knows I still suffer with this. He knows I still have muscle problems. But I am running a very successful business. I have employees who work for me. We can go places and do things with our children and our grandchildren. We have them over and we have cookouts and we do fun things, and we had grandchildren spend the night with us this weekend. Things that I could have never done before. If you are suffering, if you're hurting, now we've got a helicopter. I don't know where he's going. Every now and then we have a helicopter coming over really low. I want you to know there is hope. There is hope for you. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to lie in bed every day. I did that for 5 years because there was no hope for me. No matter what we did, no matter what doctors I saw, and there were many, no one could help me. There is hope for you. I want you to get out of bed. I want you to work on something that brings you joy, even if you can only do it for 5 minutes the first day, 10 minutes the second day, 20 minutes the third day. That's what this book is all about. It is to give you hope, and it is to let you know there is help for you. There is. You can find the kind of help that I found and that we found together. If your chronic illness or your fibromyalgia is affecting your marriage, God can work a miracle. You can have the marriage of your dreams with the one you fell in love with many years ago. When we began writing this story, it was only to be about my fibromyalgia. I was not going to mention any of the problems that we had because it affected our marriage. But the more we wrote, the more we were having to ask a question. Okay, we drew a line. When this happened, which side of the story did it go on? The story we're not telling, or the story that we're telling? And after a while, God He spoke to us that both stories are a whole that you need to hear. So Steve and I wrote a lot of this book together. And we told a lot of things together that nobody else knew. Because we know that you could be going through the exact same thing. And we want you to know you can be happy. Oh, you can be so happy. You can enjoy your life. So, my book can be found on Amazon right now. The name of it is My Journey Through Fibromyalgia, Rumors, Ravages, and the Rescue. It is in Kindle and it is in paperback, just like this one. It's easy to read. I just know it can change your life. That's why we did it. That's why we put ourselves out there for the world, because we know it can change your life. I have loved talking with you today. I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye.